It's absolutely wild to say, but dental marketing theory is turning 5 years old today. And when we first got started, we had no idea what we were doing. We were just throwing ideas out there and hoping that somebody would listen. But now the dental marketing is the top rated dental marketing podcast, and we get thousands and thousands of views every single month of dentists that are looking to grow. We've learned something, and it's that every single dentist is facing the same problems that we've already figured out answers to. Now, that doesn't make it any less hard, and that doesn't mean that your problem isn't a little bit unique. But for the most part, all the goals that people have, the answers have already been given, and people are already having victory over those exact problems. And so what we did is we went back into our archive over the last 5 years, and we pulled out the top moments that we felt like this is where it really changed the way that dentists were thinking about the industry and allowed them to grow in a way that they probably couldn't before because of those mental roadblocks. So in this episode, we're going to dive into all the normal problems that dentists face around growth, around DSOs, around marketing, around team management, all of those things. And we're going to dive deep into it. We have some topics on AI in there as well. And I really think that these were the most impactful episodes. So thank you so much for listening over the last many years. And thank you for our team who's produced this podcast. And I'm excited to share with you the top moments over the last 5 years. Stay tuned.
We grew pretty quick. We grew 10 offices our first year, de novos, and then 20 offices our second year, de novos. So 30 offices in 2 years, which is a little insane. It's a little intense. And I was the CEO of this all. You know, it's like I would tell people I started a podcast in my closet, and now I'm the CEO of 35 dental offices. I don't know how we got here.
That's awesome.
Everything looked really cool on the surface, you know, like that whole story that I just said. I would tell people that story and they'd just be like, wow, this is really amazing. And I was miserable. I hated my life, and my marriage was on the rocks, and I was not coping well, and I had anxiety and depression. And I felt very trapped by this thing that we'd built up. And I realized it just was not in alignment with who I was or where I wanted to go.
I've never seen anything like this. Young dentists want out of dentistry. Like I have dental students that are telling me, Eric, I don't want to practice. I want to run a group like you did. And I'm like, well, I did that because I practiced. Like, it works both. But I've never seen such high volumes of this. And there's this collective misery that has grown inside of dentistry that people are connected to. And they say, hey, like, this isn't working. So I'll put a pin in that as a piece of it. But, you know, everything that Josey and I are getting the opportunity to share was really born in our experience, like having to deal with it every day.
I think it can really come down to one thing on both sides of the fence, and that is the expectations aren't realistic. And so we talked a lot about how associate dentists believe that me being an associate is that I go to work and that I have all of the patients that I need, and I have a team that is trained for me, and all I have to do is sit down and do the dentistry, and everything else is taken care of. And what we believe from the company side is, oh my gosh, I hired a dentist. Dentists are smart, and dentists are problem solvers, and dentists should be able to come in and know how to be productive in their operatory. They should know how to train a dental assistant. They should want to do all of these things to make their life better and more productive, when in fact we're both lying to ourselves. And so part of, I think, what's really important is that we have these really meaningful conversations. And that's one of the things that we have found be really beneficial in our associate program, is helping to facilitate and open up really important conversations between what the company feels like is important and what the associate feels like is important, and really empowering the associate to say, hey, actually, what happens in your operatory is really dependent on you and what you're going to do and how you're going to communicate. And are you going to take control of what happens when this dental assistant works with you, or what happens when this patient sits in your chair? It's not going to be handed to you. So I think that we have to bring down those walls from the expectations from the associate and the company, and start to have more meaningful conversations about how we're going to collaborate, work together. Would you agree with that, Eric? What would you say that I missed?
Well, what I heard you saying, Josey, is that we're each blaming the other party. Like, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And then we both say, screw you. Like, I'm out, like, or you're out, it's just not working. And so, it's actually a very immature game that we're playing in a sense. I don't mean, I'm not like saying everybody's immature. I'm saying that though, like what people aren't doing is like really looking at the perspective from the, and it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like associates have to recognize if this company can't be profitable in having me here, I don't have a place. Just as the company has to be saying, listen, if we can't develop this associate to be able to be profitable and get what they want out of their lives, they're not going to stick around. So yeah, like it's not easy.
Kind of like flipping over the Monopoly board mid-game, you know what I mean? Like no one wins really, right? It doesn't, if the associate leaves after a year, associate didn't win, you didn't win. If the associate, if you fire the associate after the year, no one won in that scenario. No one. The patients don't win. Your team has to reset. And it's like, we talk a lot about like replacement cost of teams. Like I can't even imagine what the replacement cost of a dentist is after, because you don't let a dentist go like right away usually, right? It's usually this long drawn out thing that you have to do.
Gary, we've done the math and the math is scary.
What is it?
Like that, to your point, you've heard all the studies. You've heard the HR data that says the cost of replacing a team member is equal to 1 or 1.5x or 50% of their annual income. First, like that's a ton if we're talking about a dentist. But we sat there and we said, that can't be accurate. Let's break it down, right? But the first thing, like, people are paying $30,000 a head for headhunters to find them a new dentist right now. Then we've got all the failures and lost revenue. We've got the loss of profitability because the dentist wasn't performing in the first place. We've got downtime. We've got patient loss. See, that's the other thing with dentists that people don't account for. When the dentist sucks, your patients never come back. Then they trash you online. You've read the reviews, right? And so like and then we also have who covers. Well, is it the owner dentist that started the group that's now not doing other things? I mean, listen, it's like the mathematics on it is like, it's like quantum math, right? Like it just gets nasty.
But the revenue of a dental practice is derived from the trained mind and the trained hands of the dentist. If you cut off the dentist's hands, you have no practice, you have no business. And so I'm very much in favor in a business like that the person who is in there working with his or her hands, I'm very much in favor that person own the business, that they're in control of the business. They own the business. They reap all of the rewards of the profits of the business, which we call the EBITDA. If it's you working with your hands, I think you should own that. If I own that, if I'm a DSO and if I own that, then I literally own you.
Heartland Dental. And I don't know if you like Heartland or not, Nate, but Heartland does 100% buyout, right? There's not equity down the road. It's a 100% buyout. Their culture is absolutely amazing. I believe personally, their leadership is amazing. Love Pat Bauer. I'm friends with Pat. I think that is a very good situation for a doctor who no longer wants to work any longer in the business piece, but still wants to practice. But it's like, I'm done with this business. I can't stand the business of dentistry. I'm out. I want to sell my practice. And even if it's a smaller practice, call it a $800,000 or $1 million practice, right? And that's an example of. I think that's work. I don't think there's any deception. I think it works for all parties involved.
So here's the honest picture where a lot of dentists are at. The hustle and bustle, the burnout, the stress, these are all real. All of these things are signaling that you actually have a problem and the solutions that you're using to solve the problem are not working. DSOs are real. Competition's real, training your team, these are all real problems. But here's what I've learned over the last 5 years about dentists. The dentists that are actually winning have a clear vision of why they want to do what they want to do, and they go and attack it viciously. That doesn't mean the solutions don't change along the way, and that doesn't mean you don't make mistakes along the way. You do, we all do. But the vision is clear, so you have clear marching orders. The second part of this episode is exactly about what the best operators in the dental industry are doing today to build a better outcome for themselves that you can actually follow and implement yourself. I think you're really going to enjoy this. Stay tuned. And they do it really fast and they raise a bunch of money. And then all of a sudden, the complexity of business hits them like a brick wall. And once they were like, I'm going to go to 100. And now they're like, oh man, I hope I don't go bankrupt. Yeah. What, from your experience, I know you've seen this over and over and over again, and you've seen people do it right and you've seen them do it wrong. Yep. What's the first step in really making sure, if you have one practice, now I want to scale to 10 or whatever your goal is, what's the first step that you need to really start with to make this successful?
Such an awesome question, Gary. Thank you so much for having me on your show. First and foremost, I will say that I've seen people do it wrong, and I've seen people do it right, and I've done it wrong a lot, and I've done it right. So I'm going to speak from personal experience first. I think that it's actually a really good example of where you can be misled into thinking that it's time to expand or expansion is a good idea in the first place. Let's just start with my first 3 practices. I had a very unique opportunity in a very good demographic. And I basically lucked into the demographic where there was a ton of needy patients in a blue collar area and not a sufficient amount of providers at this particular time. This is in the early 2000s in Central Arizona. So built a practice that went splendidly well. So I thought, hey, this, like you said, this isn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to open another one over here, which was about 45 minutes away, and then another one here, which was an hour and a half away. They all did very, very well. Now, I will preface that by saying that I lucked into some really good office managers and also into some good associates, okay? This was back when it wasn't that difficult to find good people, or, dentistry hadn't gone through the evolution that it has from a human resources perspective since COVID, okay? So they were plentiful. It was reasonable to hire a really good office manager. Had 3 good office managers, 2 associates, and I would work in one, and we'd rotate around these 3 practices. They did great. By our standards, I would call them black belt level practices. 20% profitability, at least overhead, 50% excluding doctor compensation. Very culturally sound, although they weren't consistent amongst the practices. Each individual practice had a decent culture, relatively systemized, I would say, or at least I thought they were. And then, I was like, okay, now I'm going to make a real move. And then I went to 4, and then 5, and then 6 practices. This is all within a 7-year period of time. So I was basically picking up a practice every single year until I hit 6 practices in 7 years. The first year I was an associate. So what happened was that I started to realize that when I'd lose a key player, an office manager, for instance, or an associate in another practice, the wheels kind of fell off the entire thing. What I came to realize was that I wasn't a gifted entrepreneur at all. I was riding on the coattails of a really, really good team. And when an office manager would leave, so would the systems in that particular practice, because they were all confined in this particular office manager's head, right? Yeah. And then it happened in another dental office. When I lose, a front office lead or a clinical lead, things would get super disrupted very, very quickly. Associates as well. I realized that I didn't have a scalable model at all, although it seemed that I did based on the numbers. What I had was a very, very staff-dependent organization. So I think that it's really important that if you were to pressure test this thing to see if you're ready to go from 3 to 10, you're going to have to look to see if you are staff-dependent or if you're a systems-dependent dental practice. And I think that's very, very important.
So how would you pressure test that? Let's say we could go back and put you at the 3 practices, knowing what you know now. Uh-huh. What would you do to pressure test it before you went to the 4, 5, and 6?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that you have to remove each key person from their role, at least for a period of time, to see if the operation would run without them. If I was going to put somebody in with my current training, my current onboarding protocol into their position, how long would it take for them to be able to take over that role seamlessly and operate at a similar level. It might be 85% of the previous all-star level 10 person, but at least is it enough to keep this machine running in the right direction? And if you could do that for each individual position, then you know that you're sufficiently systemized.
So would you like send them on vacation, basically? Like, hey, we need you to take 2-week vacation, and is that enough? And then cross train?
I think you can virtually do this, right? I think you could literally say like, okay, without them here, or if we'll put them on a special project, or we will cross train. Let's teach them how to do scans in a pinch, or let's put them on this particular AR project for even 3 days. Like, how does the practice run without them? Nobody's allowed to talk to them at all. My friend Alistair calls this red teaming. So you imagine the worst case scenario where you're removing people either physically or virtually from their main role, and then see how the practice runs without them. Then you could see if you're sufficiently systemized for each individual role in the dental practice. You don't have to do it all at once. Some people do, but you can take key roles and remove them from those roles to see how the practice runs without that particular personality and that particular individual. Works really well.
So just walking back through this, they're basically dental is labor intensive, location specific is it's always going to be local, right? And so it's going to be labor intensive, local. And then you need to pressure test your team before you scale that. And then from there, you need to be able to scale your CEO skill, so to speak, pretty quickly.
I think that in general, we all want financial freedom. Also, in general, we all want time freedom. A lot of people say they want to work part-time, but I really see it being more like they want the option to work part-time if that becomes important. They want time freedom. There's a lot of dentists, though, that want to work. Like, what else are they going to do? I would much rather have an organization, a dental practice, that I don't need to sell for 5 times money today. I'd rather have 100 times EBITDA. Maybe I could own it for 20 or 30 years because it doesn't burn me out. I pass it on to my kids. They pass it on to their kids. And let's get 100 times EBITDA, 100 years of profit out of this thing. Or at least let's build it that way. If we build an organization that doesn't poison our life, it nourishes our life. It gives us energy. It doesn't take it away. So if we correct these stress points, we build an organization that gives us financial freedom and time freedom, that does something we're proud of in a way that makes us happy, we could have that for a very long time. We don't need to run away from one side of it. We don't need to sell it. Although the people that do that also good at justifying why they did it. And that justification can look like good advice. It can look like laws to learn. But, I want to challenge people. What is your dream practice? Maybe you can create a dream that says you don't chop any of it away. Maybe a dream practice is that you're doing only the dentistry that you feel passionate about, that fulfills you somewhat. And you're doing it with people that you want to be with, you want to be around. And you're doing it in a facility that makes you proud of what you've done and that makes you happy to walk into, that other people find good. And that organization is giving you enough money that you have freedom, and it's giving you enough flexibility that you can spend your time doing what you want to do. And all of that can provide you almost this business nourishment to make you feel fulfilled, even though the more entrepreneurial you are, the more you'll want to start a new project in your career. But how about every new project or every new phase we start becomes a healthy journey, and it doesn't steal part of our life outside of that? That, to me, is a dream practice to strive for.
So what I hear you saying, and maybe this is because I'm hearing it through the lens of the way I want to hear it from my journey, right, is what you're really aiming for is flexibility to be able to do what you want to do, or the freedom to change your mind of like, I want to do more of this, or I want to better, because you say like, it's a beautiful facility. Well, you build the beautiful facility, but in 10 or 15 years, it's not a beautiful facility anymore, right? Like it's old now, and you need to upgrade things. You need to change things. Technology changes. So it's having the ability to change your mind and the flexibility to do that. But you have to have that, You have to be very intentional. And that intention is at the beginning. If you wait too long to get intentional, then you get yourself kind of stuck in positions that you might not want to be in long term.
You know what? It's not beautiful anymore, that facility. I have to redo it, is the journey. I now have 3 dentists instead of 1, is the journey. And we can make that journey something that we like, or we can make that journey control and burn us out. If some dentists feel like they just don't have the energy or the time to even work on their career, yet they spend so much time on Netflix or on Instagram, and they spend so many years working for someone else.
Yeah.
And they're not taking the time to correct the stress points. Or how about we just work 2 hours less every single day than we currently see patients? Why not just peel away those 2 hours if that's what's needed? What are we scared of? Because if those 2 hours allow us to then build the discipline we need as a CEO in our organization, and to give us the extra space we need, we all need too much time, too much space, so that when the spikes of stress happen, they don't break us. When the opportunities come in front of us, we see them and we're not too busy to pass them on. So if it takes working less as just an example, work less. If it takes stopping doing some type of dentistry or learning a new passion in dentistry, then we learn the new passion. And if we don't own a practice, it's harder to make these decisions that selfishly improve our life. So that's another component. A lot of people may dream of a dream practice, but may be fooling themselves saying it's not the right time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You have to jump in the pool, right? You have to jump in the pool to learn how to swim, right?
The right time to do the right thing is probably going to be right now. It just will never feel completely safe or certain. You have to have this uncomfortable confidence to do what you know is right. I use this example sometimes when I lecture my courses, like the you 5 or 10 years from now would love to have this day back. The you 5 or 10 years from now would love to make decisions today about what you're going to do. Are you making that you 10 years from now proud with what you're doing? Or do you know?
We also have a belt, by the way. We've got a belt, like a wrestler's belt, like a championship wrestler's belt. People go nuts for it.
I love that. Now, on the flip side of that, so let's say, I already know doctors are listening to this.
I think you should be worried about getting in. If you're not doing anything, you're not part of the conversation and where the conversations are happening and where the decision making is happening in the communities, right? And so that's where patients are going to make the decision. They hear about you wherever you're marketing, whether it be, on a billboard, on radio, or meeting somebody word of mouth. They're still going to go to your social media, your Instagram, and go, well, who is this person? What do they look like? What does it feel like? And so if this is something that's a stretch for you as the doctor practice owner, what I would tell you is there is somebody in your team, in your office, who is good at it, who knows how to do it, who has that natural ability. And so look within your team first, and don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Put some stuff out there. Just get the engine going so that you can see what works and what doesn't, but at least you're putting the content out. And I see too many times people try to over perfect it versus putting out, because guess what? In a couple days, it's already forgotten. Like the attention span is so quick that by the time you're thinking, is this piece going to, if I use this word or that, you're already lost. Just keep going. So that would be and I've been there, right? Yeah.
There's someone in your office that loves posting on social media, and they would consider it a dream job if you gave them 1 hour a day to post on social media. They'd literally go brag about it to their friends. Am I lying?
No, you're absolutely. And actually what's crazy, we've had instances where we've had team members where they've got huge followings, like thousands. And I'm like, what are you doing? We just do this for fun. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, will you post for us? They're like, yeah, I'd love to. Nobody just even asked.
We did a study over the last year. Odin answers about 98% of questions in Facebook groups better than all the comments combined, but the comments also give their own human perspective, which is invaluable. And so, so we figure there's $2 billion a year in payroll burned, asking questions in peer-to-peer support groups of dentistry. And if Odin were to be asked first, we'd save about $900 million, in.
Well, and to your point, you go to Odin and you can frame it, right? You can frame the conversation. You can poke it. You can even ask it to steelman your position, like, why is this good? And then steelman the other side of the conversation. That doesn't mean there's not gaps still. There's always going to be some gap somewhere, but now you can take that and take it to a lawyer or take it to a Facebook group and say, ask a very, very, very pointed question that you can get some really precise answers to, like super niche, where you might have a lawyer on there that's dealt with 300 of those cases and no one else has dealt with that. That's going to be invaluable, but it got you closer so you're not chasing your tail. So that's the legal side. What about one thing that you told me that it does really well is it helps with onboarding associates, because it helps you align with their training and clinical expectations. And just from my experience, that's probably the biggest gap in dental as people grow, is like, oh, we need more dentists. You hire the dentist, you're like, they suck. And it's like, well, they were trained differently than you. How does Odin help with that?
That's a really great question. And just really back to the legal side of things, just to the audience. Yeah, I would just so we're clear, I would never trade AI for a great advisor.
Yes, not legal. This is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. This is not any of that. Yeah.
For associates, this is interesting, because when whether it's clinical or the business of dentistry, or the associates trying to figure out admin and the flow, and then that owner has their certain flow that they like, right? They have their own process. We're able to get an associate running faster. So instead of a 2-year ramp up time, we can usually get it done a lot of times in months, minus the things that just do take that amount of time because of hands-on. But we're able to, answer questions that the doc would answer. We're able to get the kind of the soul print of the practice. And after running through multi-core modelization, which is how our checks and balances for answering questions with AI, we're able to get more guardrails in place so that the associate's able to get better answers. But that way, we're not having to ask a human questions that we can ask Odin. And then we can really, the associate could be there at 1 o'clock in the morning with a question on how would my doctor handle this? And be able to get a really good answer immediately.
There's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it talks about that, where it says, whatever everybody else is doing, do the opposite, whatever it is. And if you just do the opposite of them, then you have endless opportunities. And that's what you created for yourself.
Like when you think you're going to do a startup, I would start talking to branding, and I would start getting, especially when your lease is locked in, I would start getting marketing going, because your Google SEO is going to be at 0. So you have to get it going. You need a website together. You need branding. You need photos. You need knowledge about what your area is going to look like.
I tell people all the time, getting your Google My Business is one of the biggest things, because that's what shows up. That's where you get your Google reviews. And when you start from 0, like, you don't exist on Google, like you do not exist. So you have to get that up. You get the address, get the phone number, and that's all you need. Like, you can even change the name, you can change the pictures, but just getting that, securing that, and then Google starts to index you.
Right as you sign that lease, get your marketing going.
And then you start working your way up through Google, like what you're talking about. So that's really, really smart. And you have a whole list of things that you did there. So that was really good. Pieces of advice before we tell everybody goodbye.
I think it's an honor and it's very exciting to be your own startup boss, because you start it from the beginning, you put your stamp on it. And I think it's definitely something people should think about more so than be scared of, because it is really just the best thing I've done. And I mean, obviously, since I'm doing it again, but if you can get the right team and if you can get the right people, and you'll have some hiccups at the beginning, and you'll have some hiccups 2 years down the line, like everyone does, like I did. But again, it's yours, and you're not taking a legacy of someone else and trying to put yourself into it.
That is 5 years of dental marketing theory. And we're going to take a second to say thank you again. I really value that you spend your time watching our content. Also, I want to thank everybody who came on as a guest. Without our guest, we wouldn't have Dental Marketing Theory. Thank you to Dr. Richard Lowe, Josey, Dr. Roman, Nate Williams, Elijah Desmond, Dr. Mark Costas, Dr. Scott Leune, Dr. Sam, Eddie Coleman, and Dr. Singh. You guys are amazing. And thank you to all of our other guests. Every week we have a new guest. Thank you for making this last 5 years amazing. And we hope to make year 6 even better for you. Thank you for everybody who tunes in every single week. I hope you have a great day.